All right. Well, welcome to the Chehalem Glen Golf Course Clubhouse Advisory Committee monthly meeting that we're having. And with the way we normally will do it, we're going to do the pledge, the flag salute, and then we're going to do the minutes. So let's stand for the flag salute and begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Play ball. Anyway, so in attendance right now on the committee is Dennis Lewis, Roger Coleman, Bob Travers, and do we have, Richard, do we have anybody on Zoom yet?
No one's on Zoom.
All right, so we're waiting for one other person to be on Zoom. And at that time, we should have a quorum. Okay. And then for the staff, we have Kellen, last name Kellen?
Saskin.
All right, thank you. And then Casey, your last name?
Creighton.
Creighton?
Creighton.
Thank you. And then Don Clements, of course. He'll be speaking here shortly. And then Jim McMasters is going to be late. He said he'll be here, but he is late. And then Jason Fields. And there's Jim. Great. So, with that, why don't we just start? Hello, Jim. You're over here somewhere. Come on over.
I just play public. See ya.
In the packet, it says that the liaison, Kat, is going to do some inductions, but I misunderstood. That will be whatever you guys do tomorrow to include them will happen then. And then a month later, apparently, that's when you do the induction. Okay, and then we already have a packet of 3 that have applied. And there's no restrictions on how many people are going to be on this committee. So if you want to put your application in, I've already been told that they'll extend the period of time until they get your application. And then Don Loving, if he wants to be part of it as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So, Don, why don't we start with you? I'm going to pass up the approval. I'm sorry. What?
Approve the minutes.
Pass up the approvals until Don's finished because he has to leave early. And so Don is going to talk about the history of the golf course and the clubhouse as it is now, and then perhaps a little future thought about that. Don, you're up.
September 24th, 1992, at a board meeting, was the first time the idea of a golf course was brought up. Then, in October of 92, that same year, they decided to form a committee. That committee would be 5 citizens and 2 board members. The committee was then formed in January of 1993. They were appointed. That was Rob Mozon, Glenn Benedict, Jerry Fisher, Larry Webler, Pat Casey, William Murdoch, and Don Loving. Those were the first committee meeting. Prior to January, Don and I, on November the 12th, attended a conference about municipal golf courses. That was the idea to gather as much information as we could. The group met, and it went for about 2 years whereby there was a gentleman, I believe it was Mark Siebers, who came on as a volunteer and did a feasibility study for the golf course. He had done feasibility studies to do plants all over the United States, so he knew what he was doing. He had a big background. So we did our first feasibility study. Was this something that we could do? According to the feasibility study, it was possible. There was a lot of risk involved, but it was possible. The feasibility study, they stated that we needed to decide where we were going to build a course, what type course were we going to build. There was a lot of questions. At the same time, there was a group in town that was going to build a private course. And the group, we met with them, and the board met with them. We met at an individual's house, but we decided after the meeting that we would not partake, that is, join forces with that. We would do our own thing. The primary reason for that is that evidently there was a lot of legal hassles going on at the time, a lot of lawsuits, and we did not want to get into that. So we decided to stay on our own. That's when I learned about the Worth family. Supposedly this golf course was going to be on the Worth property. The problem is the Worth family knew nothing about it. They were highly upset.
You know what year that was?
I don't remember. It was 94, maybe 93, something like that. The idea was, it was called, the group was Royal Chinook, was the name of the group. That's when I got introduced to the Worth family, Dean and the family. They sent a letter through their attorney to CIS and DCIS that there would not be a golf course on their property. What was unfortunate is we wanted part of that. And at the time, the Springbrook specific plan came into existence. That is, it was a plan that took about 3 to 4 years to do. The Springbrook specific plan took all of that land, including where Fred Myers is, the hospital, where the Greens is. All of that land was owned by the Worth family. There was also a state movement at the time. Part of that land was zoned industrial. That industrial was to have a site, an industry on it. Sumitomo, I believe, was the name of the company that was supposed to build a manufacturing base there. After about 2 years of all kind of finagling going on, they pulled out, went to Arizona, decided not to do that. We then approached the Worth family, and this was about 5 years after that. All this took a lot of time, with the idea that we would like to build a golf course on that property. We were told that the likelihood was slim to none, but they would meet with us. So we got our facts together, got our consultants. We sat down with the family, and they had hired D.R. Horton to do the planning. So we met with D.R. Horton and figured everything out. Originally, they had wanted to put homes up and down hole number 1, 2, 3, all of that. We did not like that. We said, we'll not participate if that's done. We don't want that. So what you have is what we finally settled on. It took a lot of time to get that. At the same time, the Austin family started their development. That was their land. They were going to build a golf course. Donna McCain and I met with the Austins. We said, can we join forces and maybe do this as a joint venture? It was decided at the meeting, no, that would not be possible. The primary reason was they were wanting to build a private to semi-private type course, which government or the public would not be able to use. So we didn't go there. We both agreed to do our own thing. In other words, we would support their efforts. They would support our efforts. When I say support, we wouldn't fight each other. So that's where it was left. We then proceeded to continue with the Worth family on the property that was vacated. The problem was we came up with the design. The city decided at the last minute that there was going to be a road that was going to connect where hole number 5 is. We felt that that would destroy the whole plan that we had set up. We were told that it was going to be done whether we agreed or not agreed. We met with the elected officials, and somehow they met with the city staff, and that was worked out to satisfaction. That means that it was not part of the Springbrook plan, and it was done away with. So we were able then to go back and begin the process. The problem with the process was, prior to that, we had met with Mr. Baker and Mr. Powell, who was from Lake Oswego, had came in and said that they would like to assist us. The problem was we didn't have any money, and I was informed by both of them we didn't need money because we couldn't afford them anyway. Mr. Baker was on the board of General Motors and several other big outfits, and was pretty substantial himself. Mr. Powell was a golf course. That's what he did. He designed and built them. So they agreed to help us free gratis. Mr. Powell went out, and that's when we acquired the property there with Chauncey Getman and trying to remember the other gentleman, but Mr. Baker and Mr. Powell helped us with all of that so that we could do it. Then we had to get the Worth family to agree to do that because that property was exclusive farm use property. We were told at that time that that this was in 96 or 97, that we could not get that property changed and there could not be a golf course there built. The problem that we felt is the state had rules that we didn't figure were fair, but they were rules, land use rules, whether we agreed or not. I met with Corrine Sherrington out of Salem, who was an attorney, a LUBA judge, and Corrine worked with us. I asked her to help us do it. Her comment to me was, Don, I'm on the other side. And I said, I know that, Corrine. That's why I need you, because I need to understand if what we're trying to do is wrong, then we'll accept that. But I don't think it's wrong, and we want to continue it. There was an aide from the governor's office that came out and just flat told us there'd never be a golf course there, that the land use laws would not allow it. We respectfully sent word that we respected their opinion, but we were going to proceed. We felt they were wrong. This city and the county was not on our side either. They were not supporting the golf course at the time. Finally, we won over local support.
How'd you do that?
Mainly, we didn't. The community kind of came together. People on the committees, people involved, people like Dennis, other people, just talked to people in the community. And eventually it began to change. So it took time. We did a couple of surveys. Here's what the community said. Will not spend any tax money. If you can do it without spending tax money, it's okay to do it, but will not support it with the taxes. So the question was, how are we going to do that? Because that was the real big issue. At the time, David Albrecht came into the scene, and David was a financier and started working with us on setting up the financial aspect of the golf course. We got everything worked out, and then when the Springbrook specific plan, the land for Fred Myers was sold, the land for the hospital was sold, and the greens was going to be developed. The Springbrook specific plan had come about. So how did we become part of that? And then how did we get the second 9? Because the Worth property was only for 9, but we had the property. That's where Powell and Baker helped us get that other property that we could develop. Now, when we started this financial plan, it was risky. When I say risky, how do we develop something, not use tax money? What happens if the golf course doesn't work? The feasibility studies and stuff. We didn't use all the land. We saved part of the land. The idea was if we got into trouble, we'd sell that land, wind up only with 18 holes, and we'd use that property and sell it to pay off the deal so the taxpayers was not going to be on the hook for it. The good news is we didn't have to go there because it pretty much followed what we thought it would do. And we opened the course in 2005. Roughly, it was built in 2004. But when you build a golf course, you have to have a grow in. That means everything has to grow in.
Don, a question. So when you got, the first 9 was part of the Greens plan development. The second 9 and the additional property was Worth property. So a financial mechanism was,
No, the first part was the Worth property.
okay.
The second part was our property.
So you'd already purchased it?
Yes. As a matter of fact, we paid it off in 2012, 13, something like that. I can't remember.
So that was not it was a bond or what was it? Just a
No,
A loan?
it was revenue.
revenue loan?
Right.
Was used to buy the land for
That's correct.
for the second 9 and the vacant property for the proposed third, okay.
That's correct.
So
The
the first 9 then, how was that financed?
that was financed through a revenue bond,
So that also was.
and the land. The example, the hospital land sold for about $300 and something thousand an acre. So you can imagine how much the golf course land was worth. So, but when we got into the negotiations with the family, the idea was that it was too much to give, but they had a tax liability, and by giving us the property, they were able to take off taxes for 6 years,
So they gave you the property for the first 9 or for all of it?
just for the first 9. And the idea was they didn't give us the property first. They gave us an easement, a conservation easement, because once they gave us the property, you had to then begin to deduct the 6 years. So by giving us that, that sealed the deal. We knew that they were going to go through with it. There was trust there, a little bit on both sides, and it worked out fine because then they started their development. Most people don't know the golf course was developed before the greens. But it was kind of done the back way. But anyway, that was something that was negotiated. So it took a lot of time, and I think it benefited the family, but it didn't benefit them as much as it probably benefited the community. And I think it also benefited the district. The idea was, how do we make a win-win situation in the development of that? We then went out. First person we hired for the district was the golf course superintendent, which was Casey. The reason we chose Casey was because he had worked with contractors, had a deal with Grow-In, had a pretty extensive background in the golf
That was
course.
Casey here?
Yes,
What year was that?
2004.
Before it opened?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You always bring your superintendent on so that he can see. You want to bring it on so that they can see the development, advise, those type things. And he had worked with the contractor, Bernhardt, in development of the Arlington golf course. So we felt good about that. Then later on, we went out and brought in the the operation, which was Brandon. So that kind of brings you up to date.
Was the clubhouse then, it's a modular building, so it was built somewhere and brought in?
Yes. That was originally planned from the very beginning. The
For
re-
cost purposes or something?
for cost purposes. We, during the conference, as well as checking with all the golf courses, the one thing was the clubhouse was the biggest drainer of revenue. More courses built big clubhouses and they failed. They failed because they couldn't afford the financing and it was too spendy. And we learned that. Meriwether, as well as OGA, several courses built after they opened. They all started with what we did, but they also opened up. The difficulty was the deciding how we designed it and what we were going to do with it.
We're talking again the clubhouse.
That's correct. And it was, that clubhouse, I think, is 3 sections, if I remember correctly.
Triple wide.
Yeah. It came in 3 sections. And then we designed and built the barn at the same time where the clubhouse or the golf cart barn is stored.
Same
And-
time?
Yes.
Okay.
That was all done at the same time.
Okay. Okay. Great.
That's, I believe that was before we opened in 2005. Yeah. Yeah. We wouldn't have opened without
Could
it.
you? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Alpha Engineers, I think, was the people that worked with us on that.
Alpha?
Yeah. To make things more complicated, there was a situation where we were not going to build a course. We were going to buy a course after it was built. I was in Georgia. I'll never forget it. I got a call. You got to come home. So I just got on the road and came back. They decided that they didn't want to build it. But how do you do that? How do you start that project without the bidding and the governmental red tape? So we contacted the Attorney General's office. We involved them, and we were able to work a solution out to where we could get everything done. It, like with there were several things that came up to try to stop the project that delayed it immensely, but we kind of overcame each and every one of them. And like with your endeavors, you will come across many difficulties, and you just have to overcome them. I think the main thing is, as you can see, this was not something that was done overnight. It took a long time. But the patience, the faith that it could, and you have to have a little faith that it can happen, was the main thing that probably helped it out.
Of course, it always will. At the same time, weren't you doing the pool during all of this thing that you were doing with the trying to build this golf course? Didn't you have the development of the pool, the new pool come into play yet?
No.
No, this was
That-
after?
Yeah, this is way after.
Okay.
The new pool came about in trying to remember. Yeah,
Well, we don't need to go into it. I
Yeah.
just wanted to know if that
yeah.
was part of
No,
that problem that you guys had.
no.
All right, good. Any questions at this point? Any other questions?
Question, has there been an overall master plan developed that would show ultimately what this would look like with all three nines, a clubhouse, parking, any other facilities or uses thought about use of this land then?
Yes. I believe Kellen has all of that, can share it with you.
Well, we've just talked about what we've done.
Yeah.
So
We
far with the-
we definitely have the third nine already developed. As a matter of fact, it's ready to go. The specifications that we use would be the ones that we use for the second nine, probably updated a little bit, but would be the same identical. Even the clubhouse, there was talk about the clubhouse. You've probably seen the drawings. The inside was discussed. What would we do with the inside? How big should it be? The most important thing, like with our clubhouse, if you notice, it's changed a little bit, but if you stand and you wait on customers, you're able to see the first tee. You're able to see across the street. The idea was to get as much visibility as problem. At the time we designed that, they didn't have a camera system. It wasn't in. Nowadays, it doesn't really matter. You can, with cameras, you can see everything. So it's not as big a deal as it once was.
Well, it's the first for me that I heard that you were part of that rendition. Kudos to you and Callan, because that's a beautiful building if it ever got built. It's absolutely gorgeous. The rendition of the clubhouse.
Yeah, that was done by,
Bond.
From Moise.
Yeah.
Is the architecture
Yeah.
firm.
yeah. We matter of fact, it was volunteered. And if I remember correctly, he volunteered to do that.
Pro bono.
Yes, there was no money involved,
Right.
so,
Even better.
yeah. Even-
One of the big costs, though, that people don't realize is the road.
Oh,
The road?
the road cost over $1 million.
There was no road there?
No, Fernwood Road was there, but we had to pay to have it redeveloped because that property was there. That's all been paid for.
Oh, good. Okay.
That took a while.
Don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
And then when did the city limits change to include the golf course?
Oh, gee, that was another major. That was with Thousand Friends. That took
Tell me about it.
3 years just on its own. It was step after step after step. Matter of fact, I remember Mike Burbide saying, "We'll never have a golf course." Of course, he said that about the cultural center too. I give him a rough time all the time. I said, "You have to have patience, Mike. Not only patience, you just have to stay on it and you have to work at it. It takes time. There's no way sometimes if you try to push things too fast, they'll backfire on you and you'll wind up losing much more than you gain.
Sure.
So you just have to stay with it."
Dennis, you have any questions? Oh, I didn't see your hand. Go ahead.
Oh, the revenue bonds will be paid off by next year. I think that's what,
I believe the next budget cycle they're gone. Well, matter of fact, the first 9 is paid this year.
okay, so
Really?
the end
Gone?
of
Yeah.
25,
Yeah.
then Both bonds are paid off.
Yeah.
So, now, were those revenue bonds, were they privately financed, or were they?
Yes.
So they're, okay.
And I golf with some of the people that bought them.
Are they
And
still
they-
available?
They're still available.
Sheesh. Well, we're looking good. Everything that comes out of his mouth, we're gold.
Well,
Oh,
just remember the financial situation has changed, and I think you will pay a little higher financial charge because it's not guaranteed. But the more homework you do, the better off you are.
What's not guaranteed?
For instance, if you borrow the money, the board has to decide that they will first of all do that because they're obligated. And the citizens is obligated to that. And we originally took that money out of the general fund. We no longer do that because the district has grown to a point to where keeping up with what the growth, we've had to revert that to the SDC fund. The problem with the SDC fund is it's not stable. When I say it's not stable, it will go up and go down, go up and go down, depending on the development. I remember looking at that, and I felt at the time that we had enough room by which to take the risk. I'm not sure I would do the same thing today with what we have, but have I spent an inordinate amount of time and gone into every dime and nickel and penny? No, but I have enough grasp that I'd be very hesitant to say that a lot depends on the development. Now, the SDCs, as you know, are constantly under criticism, and there is a move every year to do away with them. And we fought that for many, many years, not only local level, county level, but state level. So it's just something. It was a mechanism developed, and we were part of it. It was back in I think we were the first one to develop SDCs as far as park and rec. The school district was part of it. They backed out and said no. And we were there begging. And right at the end of the deal, they put park and recreation. And they took school districts out. So they put school districts and put park and recreation districts. And so
one last question. Are you in favor of a new clubhouse?
I think eventually, yes, but it's got to be done. Again, this is an opinion, and I'm not speaking for anyone but myself.
Okay.
I think the way is the current situation is adequate for what we do. If you want to upgrade and you want to have meals, serve alcohol, those type things, then it's not adequate. The key is going to be getting the right vendor in to run the restaurant. Could we do it internally? I wouldn't recommend it. You could have a lot of problems because that's a very design-specific field that will require much more expertise than we have.
And we're way, I mean, that's far, far away compared to what we're doing right now. But I think that's a definite possibility that we would be able to lease that out or whatever it takes to get a good company in there to run that. No,
I
don't
think-
there'd be an issue there.
Request for proposal would be important. I've personally visited many clubhouses across not only the state but across the country. Here's the one thing I can tell you. It didn't matter where I was, there was not enough room, especially in the kitchen. I saw some kitchens that I marveled at. They were so huge. How could they not have enough room, but they didn't have any? And I saw kitchens that was very small that didn't have any room, and they seemed to function and do the same identical thing. What the difference is, I have no idea. I can just tell you size-wise. So probably the ideal thing is somewheres in the middle would be my guess, but I'm not sure about that. The preparation, how things. I know with golf courses, I think a shelter would be better than a big banquet room. Am I off base there?
Well, yeah, I mean, the talk is to have a permanent banquet area aside from the clubhouse, yes.
Yes. And in that drawing, it shows it. It's like a somewhat a shelter that could be closed off. It could be used in the winter, but
That pavilion off into the outside separate?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When not really separate, make it part of the building.
Okay.
But because your kitchen, you've got to service that area for the kitchen. And your kitchen needs to be strategically located. The flow, the pattern. The one thing I'll tell you, I've seen clubhouses that had 5 or 6 people in it, and they couldn't seem to manage it. I've seen clubhouses with 1 or 2 people that managed it real well. Again, it's the circulation, the flow. It's very important to keep all that in mind. It's like anything else. Where they enter, how they circulate, where the visibility is, would be very important.
Okay, any questions? Yeah?
Yeah, I got a question. John, do you know specifically if there are consultants, that their main trade is the development of golf course, clubhouse facilities? That's what they do versus just an architect that's around that wants to do something?
Yes, there is. You'll pay a big penny. An example, when we built our course cost about by the road and everything was about $6 million. If we had hired what you're talking about, that same project would have been about 9 to
I'm not talking
11
about the whole
million.
golf course, I'm just talking about the clubhouse.
The clubhouse, yes, but again, you're going to pay. I think the best way, consultants, my definition of consultant is the guy that comes in, you hand them your watch, they tell you what time it is, and they give it back. I think you need to know what you want, what you need, before you ever decide anything. If you don't know that, you'll waste a lot of time.
I think that's what this committee is all about.
That's correct. And that's what the first committee did when we decided. At the time we did the golf course, your green fees is dependent on the amount, we learned this, dependent on the amount of financing. So if you finance 66 million, your green fees need to be roughly $60 a round. Now, we've never charged that. Why? Because we have the driving range, we have concessions, we make up cart rentals, we make up the $60 that way. But like with Chambers Bay, I remember meeting with the group out of Tacoma when they built Chambers Bay. Their fee was going to be $260 a round. But of course, they subsidized it and built it different than the way we did. The community put in the funds, but we built it with the idea the community would not support it. So
Could the existing facilities accommodate the third 9?
As it is.
it could, providing that we built the shelter and we moved the reason for moving the tent is we'd have with the third 9 additional parking. So we'd have to build a shelter, but that would be cheap.
I sure hope that doesn't happen.
I think building it all at the same time. I know that we ran some piping, water lines. I believe the sewer lines come up there too, does it not? Storm. I knew we were going to build a parking lot. So,
Is the sewer line in the street?
Yes.
yeah. That shouldn't be hard to bring in.
Big enough to accommodate that building?
No, I'm guessing because the pump station's right at the bottom of Fernwood there.
Yeah.
Well, I think you did a phenomenal job explaining this. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that.
Yes.
Dennis, did you
Just-
have one last question? Anything? Okay.
The only thing I'll add is remember, there were a lot of people involved that people don't know about, like Baker, Powell, Sherrington, those type people. Without them, this would never have happened. They were the experts. They helped carry everything. And when you get into this, just rely on people that have some knowledge and involve them, and then you can't go wrong. And I think with the architect that did that, he seems like the type guy he has a passion for it.
Mm-hmm.
He understands. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that'll help you immensely.
Well, thank you again. Appreciate it. You bet. All right. All right.
Can you guys move your microphones a little closer to you?
Now you tell us.
No, Don's fine. It's just you guys are a little too far away.
Okay. All right, is that better?
Bob, I gotta let you know too, I gotta leave at 6 to
Yes.
pick up a kid, so.
Okay. Oh, 6?
Yeah,
Okay, well, we better get moving on you then. All right.
yeah.
Kellen, you want to take the, you want to
Yeah, so
step up here
it
and
looks like
and
there's
talk
one-
on the microphone?
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I don't have too much to add. I walked around with Bob, Roger, Dennis, and Jeff over the last few weeks. Showed them our existing facilities and then showed them where the new facility plan is meant to be. So we had some good discussions during those 2 sessions. And I think those will continue. And then I see on here for new business under finances, the Clubhouse Improvement Fund. We are sitting right about $110,000 with that amount.
Thank you.
And as far as confirming that these funds will go towards the initial cost of something like an RFP, to my knowledge, that's a board decision. That has to be a board decision where those are what those funds are spent for.
Yeah,
So,
got it.
yep. That's all I have at this time. Dennis?
No, just
Oh.
everybody down.
Okay.
Kellen, how long ago did you talk to Amber about how much was in that fund?
I just looked at our June and added our July amounts to that. Yes.
Do you mind if I add something?
Go ahead. Yep.
Because I checked with her probably last week
Mm-hmm.
or so, and she said it was up around 135,000.
She might have counted what we have for August as well in that, which will obviously make it a little bit higher, but I'll double check. It was 95 back in June, and then we added almost 16,000 in July. Yeah.
Yeah, she might have included figures I'm not aware of, I don't know.
Okay.
Could
Thanks.
you explain what you told us, why you've separated the $5?
Yeah, so it has to be earmarked as a government entity. We have to earmark that money and create a separate account so we know how much exactly how much we're making, and that it can't be just spent as general dollars.
Do you have a name for the fund?
It's the Golf Course Improvement Fund.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions? Kellen, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I believe also. Gentlemen, thank you for letting me attend.
Yeah, anytime.
Thanks, Art.
This is a public meeting, so you're always welcome.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, well, with that, what do we do here now? Okay, we got the approval of the minutes. You want to go through that?
Sure. The draft of the minutes was sent out, through the packet that came in this week.
Yeah. I didn't see any changes that were needed. Did you, Dennis?
So I move that we accept the minutes as written.
Okay, second. No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed. All right, thank you. Now, there's a mission statement that has been written, one with AI, and one with, I don't know if you used AI or not, but you did a little bit, grammar. And so this is what we've come up with. We all agree, well, 2 of us agree. I haven't talked to Dennis yet. And you guys are reading the 3rd one? It's this one, mission statement number 3. This Golf Course Advisory Committee, the committee for the Chehalem Park Recreation District, is committed to gathering comprehensive information to help plan and build a new clubhouse, golf clubhouse. The current clubhouse at the Chehalem Glen Golf Course is showing signs of deterioration, and there are plans to add a 3rd 9, which would create significant logistic problems with existing facilities. The committee is committed to engaging with the community members, stakeholders, and experts to ensure that the new clubhouse meets the needs and expectations of all users. The committee's goal is to provide well-researched recommendations that reflect the community's vision for a state-of-the-art facility, promote inclusivity, and support the long-term sustainability of the Chehalem Glen Golf Course. Through transparent and collaborative efforts, the committee aims to create a welcoming and functional space that fosters community engagement and enjoyment for years. That's what we're going to pass on to you to approve it, for as far as if you want to add to it or something, that's your prerogative. But that's what we have written down. Is that approved? Everything is a go on this one. So I'll pass that on to you somehow. You already got it, right? I passed it on to everybody. Okay, thank you. All right, Tom Sheridan is not here, so why don't we just go to Dennis? Do you have anything that you want to add?
No, I think that, we met with Colin and we looked through the facility. I went down to Michael Book and spent some time talking to them about their facilities. I think there's a lot of gathering to be done yet, and I think that's one of those things we just have to be purposeful for going forward and visit some spaces that would recommend that would maybe represent what we would wish to do. And I would rely on Colin and maybe a couple of you that are in the business that know of other facilities that we should take a good look at and go from there.
Yeah, and we got approval to use the van that they have available, right?
Sorry to run, guys.
All right, Kellen, thanks again, appreciate it. So, so if we get together and we can form a few people, we can go and travel a couple, 3 places to go see and talk with the people of the clubhouses. So I look forward to that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've enlightened us about what to look for, and your input is very well received, believe me. Roger.
Yes.
Hi.
At the first meeting, I believe, or just after the meeting, Bob suggested that we look at, what do the golfers think about the current clubhouse and future clubhouse? And so he asked me to put together a kind of a questionnaire that might be able to use and to be able to submit to the board an idea of gaining information from the existing golf users of the golf course. And so using artificial intelligence, I developed this questionnaire, and Bob modified it a bit, so it's something we probably want to pass on to the board as an idea to get information from the current users of the golf course.
Yeah, perfect, thank you. So you have it in your packet that we sent you, or I sent, no. Well, we did, the committee did. You should have it. It's this thing right here with duplicates on one side, and when you end up with a questionnaire, it's this size. Okay, so you have both sides printed, and now you can set it up to where some golfer right there buying the tickets, buying the golf time, he could pick one of these up quickly, figure it out, pass it on to the clubhouse somehow, and we'll have some box or something that they can put it in. Go ahead, Jim.
I think there's a comments box in the clubhouse.
If it's not in the board packet coming up,
Yeah.
the board probably will not be able to approve it at that time because they haven't had time to read it. So it would probably be the next board meeting, just so you know. I think it's a good idea,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, but just following those wonderful rules out there anymore, that's kind of how I have.
Well, I think you were one of them that made a suggestion that we do that. So we're just following your ideas. The thing is, I'm frustrated because I tried to get everything to you guys so you could have it for this month.
So the thing to do,
Yeah.
the thing to do is get it to Cat.
That's what we have to go
Yeah,
to. Okay,
yeah,
of
get
course.
it to Cat first before we have this meeting, so that it'll already, and do it, when do they?
So
a
we
week
basically
ago.
we get our packets the Friday prior to the upcoming board meeting.
Yeah.
So we need to be before that to get it into the packet, because they deliver it, like last Friday, they delivered us the board packet. So if you give, 2 weeks prior to the meeting, then you'll probably be okay.
So the week that we gave her was not enough. Okay, got it.
Yeah, You're just barely off,
Okay.
just barely missed it.
Well, the unfortunate thing is we have a bunch of golfers out there right now golfing, right?
Yeah.
So in another week, 2 weeks, or a month, there's gonna be rain, there's not gonna be as many golfers out
They'll be
there
out there
that
through
can
October.
answer some of these, do the survey, and that's what we're hoping to get out there. Now, would you object for us to put a survey like this, after you peruse it for tomorrow, and say a tentative, yes, let's do it, let's start with it? You can't do that as a board? That's a question.
Follow the public process.
Yes?
I mean, we could basically, agree an emergency, but if the full board hasn't read it, and that's a good possibility, then I'd say no. If the full board's read it and you have a consensus there, then I'd say yes.
Okay.
But, I mean, we need to look at it and then go from there. And again, the staff has to recommend it too. I mean, Casey and Gillian have to say, this is, because we'll ask the staff, what do you think? We just want to.
Can I ask a procedural question? How do other advisory groups, how does that process work with you?
Exactly the same that we just talked about. So they come up with an idea, and then the week before the meeting, they have the information to Kat so that it can be in our
Board
our
packet.
board packet.
Well, you should talk to Kat, because all of this information
No,
was,
that needs to come from you guys.
I'm sorry, our secretary and me passed it to Kat
When?
last week.
Oh, it's too late.
Too late. Okay, fair enough.
But we'll take a look at it. I think if it comes up at the board meeting, in public comment, we'll take a look at it, but I can't guarantee it.
Here's the other thing you can do. Change the date of this meeting. Instead of having it the week before or the day before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because now it's like, holy crap, now we're a month out before.
Yeah,
we
well,
can
that
do anything.
seems to have been the problem ever since I've been part of a committee.
So, but that's something that we could do. We could, instead of having it the day before, let's do it 2 weeks before.
Yeah, I agree with Jason, but it would be your decision to make it when if you want to change it.
Yeah.
We're fine with changing it. I don't see a problem at all changing the date that we meet.
It would make it more fluid to be able to get information to the board.
Absolutely. I'd say 2 weeks is ideal,
Mhm.
but we'll see about that. Okay.
Well, is that something we should decide now?
To pass that on?
No, to change the date of our meeting so that we can make sure the information that we develop gets to the board in a timely fashion, not always a month late.
We could certainly do that. It's, the next meeting is down here at the bottom. I'm just making sure that we've touched all bases here. And so we eliminate the cat induction thing. We don't have to do that. We don't do much here. So yeah, let's figure it out. But then again, we have how many people missing? But we can certainly put the date down. You want to look at your
How many
calendar?
people are on your committee right now? I'm sorry.
6.
They have a quorum.
I assume tomorrow you're gonna look at adding more members to the committee?
Is a 50% a quorum?
Yes.
Huh. I didn't think so. I thought you had to have more than 50, like
Well, I think
51%.
It's more plus one.
So we don't have a quorum, I don't think.
No. So you guys need to discuss that individually.
We will.
Then-
Is there one of your members online? I thought I remember.
No one's online.
Why don't you call one of them on the telephone?
Yep. You
Then
can do that.
Also, the voting on the minutes is not quorumed.
True.
So you'll have to redo it.
So if you
next
can
meeting.
call one of the guys,
Yeah.
if you got a telephone,
So Richard, there isn't another individual online?
No one's online.
Okay, thank you.
The date.
That was me that was trying to be online.
Oh. Okay, so let me call up Tom. Let's see what, somebody's trying to get a hold of me right now. Jeff, I'm on YouTube. Jeff's on YouTube. All right. I'm gonna call Jeff. He's gathering, he's hearing what we're saying. That's basically, that's a good
He's
thing.
not on Zoom or whatever it is.
So he needs to be on Zoom, not YouTube?
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, because you can't respond.
Can't respond on
Oh, I thought
So,
Zoom, you can.
Jeff, if you can hear me right now, go to the website and go down to the section under board, under calendar for this particular event. Click on the Zoom link and then sign in via Zoom.
Zoom wasn't working.
I'm glad it's fine, because I gotta be out here at 6:30.
Zoom link wasn't working.
That's why I drove down, yeah.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
No
Well-
biggie, oh no, it's no biggie at all.
Yeah, well, my wife's probably frustrated anyway.
So, we've got a public.
Hello.
Hey,
Hi.
Golf on Wednesday.
for the first time I was trying to log on and it just, house was in another meeting and so I couldn't, it was just spinning.
And that's for the Zoom? Or,
That's on Zoom, yeah.
okay. All right, so we have you, and I assume that you heard what we were discussing about the meeting being 2 weeks ahead.
I did, yeah.
And are you in favor of that?
Yeah, I agree with that. If my vote counts over Colin.
Of course it does.
Who is this?
Jeff, this is Jeff Dillon. All right, so if that's the case, we put it up to vote. And because we didn't have a quorum, that it was denied, and now we have a quorum with you. And we're gonna put the vote to the committee right now.
Vote
So-
for what?
Everybody, all the ones that were in favor of changing the meeting 2 weeks earlier. Say aye.
Prior to a CPRD official meeting.
Yeah, prior to the official
And
meeting.
when is the board official
Fourth
meeting?
Thursday of each month.
Which Thursday?
Fourth.
Fourth Thursday.
Fourth Thursday. So,
We want to do the second Thursday if we're going to be appropriate. Is that
Yes.
correct? Or at
Correct.
least in that time frame.
In that time frame, whether it's Thursday or Wednesday or
We're talking about
Tuesday, it doesn't
Wednesday, so-
really matter.
Wednesday are fine. It just has to be
11?
2 weeks
Just gotta
prior.
make sure there's.
So we have time to get the information to the CAT so she can disseminate it to the.
That's
board properly.
correct.
Yeah, hey, guys, Jim brought up a good point, so the thing to do is make it tentative, I mean, don't make it official, okay? Because you're gonna have to check with Kat to make sure that there isn't gonna be a
Other
Heritage
meetings.
Trails meeting or something.
These are the committee meetings that meet regularly,
Got it.
so.
So you can just make it the second week, and then you guys can determine what day that's gonna be amongst yourselves.
yeah, that's what I wrote down,
Yeah.
second
okay.
week. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, aye.
All right, now it's official.
One more thing, point of order, could we go back and have Jeff talk
Approve
to
the
us whether
minutes.
he approves the minutes?
I was gonna say, I also heard the discussion of the minutes, so.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay. So we'll keep the minutes
Well, we have to
in
go through the
place.
process again, saying.
All right.
You still
You want to do it? We can.
You do.
Everybody that is in favor of accepting the minutes as they are, please say aye.
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 Okay, that's it. Okay, now, what time is it? 12 after 6. 6:12, we end this meeting, unless anything else is happening.
Good job.
Okay, what?
The only thing I recommend is that if you're going to go on a trip to see the other golf course, which I think is a great idea.
Yeah.
That's basically what you're doing, and the public needs to know that it's not a official meeting of any kind.
Oh, yeah, all right. So how do we do that? We
Just a tour.
We just
Take
do
a
it,
tour,
or
it's
what?
not an official meeting.
We can do that.
Yeah, you're not making any decisions.
No decisions, we cannot make a decision anyway, except, if it's pertaining to the minutes or what have you. All right. So with that, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Good job, guys.